Hey there, and welcome to the 135th episode of Show Me the Crypto. On this week's conversation, we chat with Sean Wren, who is the CEO and co-founder of Sahara AI, and we talk about all things in the intersection of blockchain technology and artificial intelligence. All four were some of your biggest takeaways from the conversation.
Well, we really got to dive into the side of AI that revolves around sort of like copyright and ownership of data, which is a hot topic right now. You know, OpenAI has been under fire. They're facing lawsuits for scouring the internet and basically using information that was copyright to put together their language models. So to talk with Sean about how Sahara AI is in part looking to solve that problem in the future was super interesting. But beyond that, we talk about the other aspects of what Sahara AI is really looking to solve and how AI and blockchain can be used together and probably will be in the future, because a lot of what blockchain can do is really going to enable us to use AI in a more let's say a way that actually either pays back the contributors or at least has, ownership delegated to them. So it was really interesting to get into all this stuff. It's very fascinating. But we also talked a lot about the future of AI and where it's going. And that part just gets super interesting to me because it's speculation, but a lot of it will happen in some way, shape, or form.
My head always hurts after diving deep into AI because it's so hard to imagine some of the things that are coming down the pike, what this future could look like. It's fun to think about. It's also scary, a little bit scary to think about. But I think Sean provides a bit of an optimistic look at what that future could be. One thing I thought was fascinating from the conversation was this idea of a digital twin or a knowledge agent that you have on your behalf. So the example that was given later in the conversation, we touched on this, is talking about an influencer who maybe doesn't have the personal capacity to be responding to every single comment. Well, he or she could have a knowledge agent or an AI agent or somebody who is a digital twin on their behalf going in and doing that work, having the fan engagement. And then we dive into the idea of authenticity and the importance of that. So this is a great conversation. You're going to want to listen the whole way through. You're going to love this episode.
Show me the crypto. Show me the crypto. Show me the crypto!
In a world on the brink of disruption, two men will bring you clarity by interviewing some of the most intelligent and influential names in the blockchain world. Welcome to Show Me the Crypto with your hosts, Wade Patterson and Ulf Lonergan.
Well, hi there, and welcome to Show Me the Crypto. My name is Wade Patterson.
And I'm Ulf Lonergan.
We're a couple of friends from Canada who love learning about cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, and we're happy you're along for the ride. Whether you're a crypto virgin or you know your way around the block, we hope our interviews with some of the most intelligent and influential people in the blockchain space help deliver you with value. And on this episode, we're joined by Sean Wren, CEO and co-founder of Sahara AI. An associate professor at USC's Computer Science Department, Sean has received several awards recognizing his research and innovation in the AI space, including Samsung AI Researcher of the Year, MIT TR Innovators Under 35, and Forbes Asia 30 Under 30. Sahara is a decentralized AI network that unlocks fair and universal access to global knowledge capital. Sean, welcome to Show Me the Crypto.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you on. The place I want to start this conversation, because we're kind of talking about almost the Venn diagram of you've got AI and then you've got blockchain technology. So I want to understand 3 points in time. First off, when you first discovered AI technology and what that looked like at that point in your life or your career. The second point in time of when you first discovered blockchain technology. And then the third point in time of when you understood these two could work together.
Yeah, totally. My interaction with AI starts pretty early. I would say like in my senior year at the college. It was like pretty amazing experience with me that seeing people trying to use AI to do a little like drawings and sort of making design automatic partially. I saw, I still remember like the first time I saw it was like our computer science teacher give us a demo of, hey, you could actually use this AI technology, which I don't really understand what it is. It's just a black box for me. But then he showed that, okay, you can use the AI to automatically draw this like cartoon figure, and that cartoon figure can also like be drawn in sort of a consecutive manner, so it becomes sort of animation and the turn. And I was pretty amazed by that. I was like, oh, what is actually this technology, right? And then later, the time I understand, oh yeah, it's actually a bunch of like math behind that actually can make sense of these like equations that finally form AI. Basically, it's like how these models or these functions can learn to mimic human behaviors through the data that are collected from human behavior, sort of a trace. And there was like really like an intriguing starting point for me to dive into the topic of AI. I think since then I start first of all reading a lot of like articles about AI technologies, and then I start talking and reaching out to some of the faculties who has more like AI background in the college and trying to seek research opportunity working with them. And it was really lucky for me to start being mentored by one of the professors back then in the college for a little bit over a year. Like he basically brought me to all the fundamentals about AI, basically statistics, probability, and then a little bit more fancier stuff that trying to use computer science program like Java and C programming languages at that time to try to write programs that can mimic human behavior and automate process. So that's when I sort of entered the gate of AI. And for crypto, I would say I'm pretty late in the game, right? I'm a AI native person throughout my sort of a whole career, from a student to a PhD, sort of a candidate to later becoming a professor at USC computer science department. Until I think 2022, it was really the conversation I started having with my co-founder of Sahara AI, Tyler. He's an ex investor director at Binance Labs, and he's been into AI or crypto area for, I would say, almost like 4 or 5 years. He graduated from Berkeley, and Berkeley apparently is a crypto hub for all this new technology. And he started talking to me about blockchains, and at that time was zero knowledge proof, which is a type of encryption methods to help people protect the privacy of the data while enjoying the technology's sort of automation part. He started talking about the technology to me, and I was like, yeah, this sounds like just a lot of synergy with the topics I'm familiar with, even though I'm not entirely sure what these like so-called tokenomics or cryptocurrency would do goods, right? But then that was like the entry point for me to getting interested into blockchain. And then he later taught me about, hey, one of the biggest application of blockchain is actually finance. It's financial domain. You can actually consider using cryptocurrency in replacement of the typical fiat currency. And the benefit of that is like you can have a lower transaction fee. You can actually have a very fast transaction speed than say using PayPal or using bank wine sort of services. And I was like, yeah, this sounds pretty attractive. What if we can just like apply that to other typical Web2 area, including AI, right? So that was like the very beginning point of all these conversations I had with Tyler. And then the thing I talked to him about is my complaint of the existing AI economy, right? So if you think about how AI is being monetized these days, many in the Web2 tech giants industry, it basically is these AI companies such as OpenAI, they scraped internet data such as articles from Wikipedia, news articles from New York Times, GitHub, which is a sort of open source software repository. People put a lot of great software for free for commercial use, even into one repository. And then there's Reddit, of course. All these great resources of internet data are out there, and then they were scraped by these AI companies like OpenAI, and then they use that to produce very capable models such as ChatGPT that everyone knows about today. And then they monetize ChatGPT via various ways, including charging people for subscription fee or doing ads, right? But then all this profit being made by, say, ChatGPT never gets back to the very early contributors of those data sources, right? People who write articles on Wikipedia, people who give out their knowledge and insights on Reddit. They don't get a dime from the whole AI monetization process. And I was talking to Tyler saying, this is totally broken, right? If you look at a great example as opposed to the situation here, let's say music industry, right? People produce music pieces, and those are used then as background sort of music for various video clips, and then they monetize themselves on TikTok or various other social media platforms. All of the contributors down the road actually get revenue sharing because of the copyright infrastructure that was able to support this what we call attribution of profits or revenue. And I think if people can do that for music industry or other creative arts, right, like kind of the domains, it should also happen for AI access. But apparently AI is it's just dynamically emerging. It's very new. 1 year ago, you really wouldn't think too much about worrying AI going to replace your jobs, right? But if you look at what GPT-4 is capable of doing today, and you should also assume that when GPT-5 jobs will be 3-4 times even better than GPT-4, you just can't stop thinking it's going to be more than 50% of people's jobs going to be impacted by deploying very capable AI like GPT-5. And at that time, besides typical regulations and policy making sort of decisions, how would tech builders like us be able to change the game about the AI economy, right? How can we ensure all the contributors on the upstream of AI production cycle will be all properly credited and be properly attributed for the revenue down the road. So that was basically my view of how crypto can best serve and sort of bridge the gap in the AI economy. And that's what Sahara AI is really passionate in solving.
I love it. It teed us up great for so many questions that Wade and I want to dive into today in regards to AI and in regards to what Sahara AI is aiming to accomplish here. But before we get into all of that, I do still want to, I'd love to just get into your background a little more for the sake of our audience to get to know Sean Wren a little bit before we dive into all things AI. And one of the things I want to point out, I mean, you've been in tech for a long time. Back in 2018, you were working as a data science advisor for Snapchat. I thought that was just fascinating. Everybody knows of Snapchat, but most people just from the user side. And I'm just curious from a role standpoint, you know, what was it like to work for a company like Snapchat, and what was that role like?
Yeah, I can give a quick intro of myself. I'm Sean. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Sahara AI. My background is a pretty interesting mix of both academia and industry. So before starting Sahara in early 2023, I spent almost 7 years as a tenure associate professor at USC Computer Science Department. My research there is mostly about how to make AI cheaper and quicker to be customized for business use or personalized use, right? Things involving there are like basically parameter efficient learning of AI models, federated learning that help protect user privacy, and anything to do with building users' trust on using AI models such as interpretability and attributions, right? That gave me really good exposure to cutting edge research results. But as you also mentioned, starting the third year of my time at USC, I become like a part-time consultant for Snapchat. I think the drive for me to do that is really to understand when you need to transfer these AI technologies to industry use, what are the additional challenges, right? And what I learned through that experience is that in many cases, when you need to deploy an AI method into product or large scale user bases, there are a lot of like engineering challenges pops up, like how you can deploy a model in such a low latency to many of the users who may not have equally good internet connection speed, or it may not have the same smartphone that can serve all of the AI feature very well, right? And they come from different cultural background and speak different languages. How could your model be accountable for this such a diversity on the culture and language background? So many new problems pop up that as a researcher at USC, I wouldn't even think about. But I think that's a huge learning and rewarding process for me, solving not just engineering problems, but also product market fit sort of challenges and many more. So as Snapchat, I'm doing a pretty focusing sort of scope. Basically, they want us to do an AI model that can predict user engagement, which means like you want a model that can tell you in a week what percentage of users were coming back to use Snapchat app, right? And the way you want to predict that is to look at what's the user's behavior patterns in the past 1 week or past month. What parts of the app they explore, what's their demographic informations, what anything that provide useful signals to help you predict sort of user churn or user returning, stuff like that. So I would say through that process, I just learned to know for tech transfer, it's not just about making the math work. It's also about understanding the user preferences and customize your solutions to different user bases and really like scale this up.
One of the things you had mentioned earlier talking about, and I caught your part of your panel discussion at Token 2049 as well recently. And you, as you said earlier in this conversation, the AI economy, it's broken from your perspective. You know, these people who have contributed to it, they haven't been maybe compensated or recognized for all that work. And yet it's just kind of all this information that's been scraped. So you mentioned Sahara AI is trying to fix that. So this is probably a big question, but like, what is Sahara AI? What specifically are you working on?
Yeah, totally. So like you said, the sort of a problem statement that we abstract out of this whole AI space is about having a copyright infrastructure for AI access, right? Especially we're talking about two things here as AI access. One is the data sets. You can just imagine your WhatsApp chatting history is an example of data sets. And all of your personal notes and emails and your personal pictures on your phone, these are all data sets, right? These are the raw data sets that haven't been really like massaged and processed, but they still have a lot of like proprietary business value, right? If I be able to read through your email box, I probably can predict what you're going to purchase in the vertical of e-commerce. I can also predict maybe your app preference, your investment sort of a preference, and so on. Then I can monetize those informations through various applications, right? So the point is basically saying your personal proprietary data is just so valuable that we can monetize them. And then I think the problem we're trying to solve here is just like the music industry, if they are able to provide traceable copyrights for any art pieces that you produce, then anyone else who use your art as part of their work, they will, if they successfully monetize their work, you should get part of that revenue share, right? So this is the typical revenue sharing model. And this doesn't exist at all for AI currently. Like I said, when OpenAI is monetizing ChatGPT, they didn't think about all of the contributors of Wikipedia or Reddit or GitHub, right? So I think that's like the broken part. What Sahara AI does is to use blockchain to produce a technique, what we call on-chain attribution. On-chain attribution is basically saying that anytime you within the Sahara network, if you produce a piece of data, say a conversation history, you chat with your friend, or you produce an image using generative AI technology, those data points will have a watermark of yourself that is hard to be erased, and it's gonna basically comes together with the data points no matter where it goes. Right? With this kind of technical sort of a guarantee, that just means like anyone else using your data set to build an AI model, those AI models will also have a trace of your ownership. Let's say 10%, 20%. The concrete numbers is another technical challenges we are solving right now. But basically, any model down the road that are created using your data points would have your watermark as well. So that going on and on, basically anyone else who are building application on top of the model would also still have a trace of your ownership on that application, right? So this is basically what we call sort of provenance in the sort of technical term of Web3 and AI. And this provenance is basically about all of the trace of your data set usage and the model usage down the road. If you have an infrastructure that can provide such a provenance trace, then we'll be able to support this healthier AI economy where anyone build an application, monetize the application, is using your model, then you get part of that revenue share. And if your model is using someone else's data sets, someone else is also going to be monetizing to get a part of the share from what your model is making, right? So this is kind of what Sahara is enabling all the application builder, model builders, data set contributors to do. And just quickly give a sort of AI 101, right? AI one. So here I mentioned a couple of terms that might not seem super clear at the first sort of impression, right? Like I talk about data set, I talk about model, I talk about application, right? So when we say AI, let's say a model that is able to a chatbot application that is able to talk to you and automatically respond to your questions. This chatbot is usually built with three key elements in the domain of AI. It's built of data sets that are used to help the model to mimic how to talk to human. And then there's a model, which is, you can think about this as a function that taking an input and give an output. And in the case of chatbot, it takes in a sentence as input, it output a sentence as a response to the user, human user. Right. And then there's also compute, which is basically translate to GPU hours in these days. Right. All these three are the key elements of building an AI application. And when I talk about sort of what Sahara is using blockchains to empower, is basically saying when you collect your data and massage the data to be useful to train an AI chatbot model, both the data sets and the model sort of contributors and the GPU compute providers, all of them would have the trace on the application that's being produced, and all of them become like the shareholder of this monetizable chatbot, right? When chatbot is making $100 per day, all of these stakeholders gonna have that profit sharing among those $100. That's kind of the high level idea of how attributions works using blockchains by Sahara AI.
Cool. I'm really interested in, like, it's a hot topic right now for anyone who is following the AI space, in that what you mentioned around like copyright issues and, like, for example, OpenAI, I think they've been sued numerous times now. I think there's a whole nother lawsuit that just got announced today or something for, I don't know, $50 million or something from some other group of people who are basically saying like, your model used all this data from copyrighted sources, and so now they're going after them. Now, my question to you, because I get that there is a clear problem and people are upset about it, and they're now suing the major players in the AI space. But how do you go about, like, is that something that can be solved retroactively? Like, if they've already built their model and it already has that information, maybe they will get sued, maybe they'll lose the lawsuit and they'll have to pay people back. But can they untrain the LLM, or is it just like, and separate to that, when it comes to something like Sahara AI, if you're using this data that is, let's say, legal, it's not copyrighted, or it's being contributed to voluntarily, knowing that users will be like either compensated or they'll be recognized for that data. Is that going to limit the data set itself and how big it can be if it needs to be fed that manually, or is that not how it works? Is it actually found organically the same way something like OpenAI just searched the internet?
I like the question, and the short answer is we don't have a clear technical solution to this yet. For the first situations you mentioned, like when OpenAI is just taking the internet data to really like train their models and monetize it without giving back the credits to all of the data contributor, I think this is really a hard problem, because think about when Wikipedia has been created and when sort of Reddit has already accumulated so much data, we don't really know who exactly are. I mean, we can trace them back to the user ID. Apparently, like we know which user ID produced which piece of data on this like repository. The problem, like we can basically follow that trace, and then we can define, hey, Reddit is basically owned by these hundreds of thousands of users, and when Reddit is being used for training ChatGPT should give back their profit to these like hundreds of thousands of users in maybe an equivalent way, or maybe there's a better community proposal about who is making more, who is making less, depending on the quantity of the data or the quality of data, right? This is something we can totally do. One potential thing we're trying to do here is to migrate some of these open source data sets, for example, data sets on Hugging Face, which is a pretty prominent open source software community for AI. If we can migrate hundreds of thousands of these data sets that are contributed by individual users or business to Sahara Network, and then provide the sort of the ownership, sort of a token for each of these data sets and model, then down the road, when these model data sets are further used for building model or for building application, we'll be able to trace that back, right? This is something, it's part of our go-to-market strategy for Sahara AI. And we are thinking various ways to partner with this open source community. But the tricky thing here is that in the setting of open source, just to give people a quick sort of explanation of open source, meaning that all of the data points, all of the informations on the data sets, and all of the model parameters are visible to anyone, right? And the tricky thing about that is you can easily just like manipulate a tiny bit of the data and then claim to be the owner of the new data sets that is almost 98% the same as the original one. And this is a problem still hard to be solved right now in the society. Same thing for the OpenAI lawsuit. We see they can generate an article that is like 80% the same as a piece of New York Times article, but there's no law and regulation defining what is the penalty and what is the problem with that kind of overlaps between the two pieces of data, right? So I think this is a problem that is really hard to be defined and cannot be purely just solved by technology solution. It's more like a regulatory type of problem that is outside of my expertise, right? So, and just to quickly add on that, that's why within Sahara AI, our premise for building data set and AI model provenance is to adapt a closed-sourced assumption, meaning that all the data sets and model that are proprietary, they shouldn't be open source. They should be API protected, meaning that the only way you can access that is through API channel. And you cannot look into the data sets to see what are exactly the information are, or you cannot also copy paste the model parameters to produce a new one. And I think that assumption is critically important at this stage of the sort of the industry, because we don't have a better technical solution for the open source situation. Yeah. And go ahead, sorry.
I was just wondering, Sean, one thing that's come up talking about this in the past is I just wonder to myself about kind of almost the arms race of various protocols that are working on like AI solutions for different problems and that kind of thing. But just in general, I mean, you talk about OpenAI, ChatGPT, it seems like some of these existing protocols have just a head start in the exponential speed we're seeing these programs develop. And I'm curious, from Sahara AI, I mean, getting the users to kind of contribute and then being recognized and that kind of thing, like, is that part of a challenge, is like catching up to what already has been developed, starting something brand new in, to be launched mainnet Q4 2024?
Yeah. I think we are in a pretty positive positions because we being go-to-market with our data marketplace, which is our very first product on the application layer that built on top of the on-chain attribution blockchain sort of a service. This data marketplace, we launched it last October. And the way we actually go to market in the first phase, which we call the alpha phase, is to do proof of the technologies by working on the most challenging enterprise data use cases. So what we did is basically I personally talked to over 60 of the portfolio companies from our seed round investors, including like Sequoia, Samsung, Polychain. And then I sort of figure out what their data needs when they are building the AI in each of their vertical. And we sort of consolidate to about 10 plus AI use cases. For example, generating videos from language input, turning audios into sort of text conversations, and then collecting data about 2 months of conversations between two people who are just know each other on the internet, stuff like that. Very diverse, but at the same time, super challenging use cases. And then we trying to build our data marketplace tools to allow a network of 200,000 data labelers and contributors to actually work on these enterprise level tasks. So these 200,000 labelers, they come from different parts of the globe, right? Mostly from Africa and APAC areas. And they have different expertise, different language and culture background. Some of them never even work on data labeling tasks before, but that's the exact challenge, right? How could you make a product that looks very user-friendly and can onboard these like first-time data labeler or gig workers to be able to create satisfying quality label data for our enterprise clients such as Microsoft, Amazon, Snapchat, Capture AI, and so on, right? So I think that process is a little bit painful, but we are also very rewarding. Like, I think after these 5 months of proof of tech and go to market, we really polish our product to be able to handle enterprise graded tasks. And now we are start launching our second phase of the go to market, which is basically open up the marketplace to anyone, individuals or business users. Mostly could be from Web3, could be from Web2, right? Could be AI builders, could be just like personal users like you and me, to take this data marketplace and then use that to collect the data sources and massage the data into your ideal form so that you can use them to power your personal AI down the road, right? And I think this phase, another new sort of a weapon we have is this tokenomics weapon, right? Basically, in the typical B2B go-to-market in our alpha phase, the business model is pretty straightforward. Enterprise clients like Microsoft come in to say, hey, we're going to pay $10,000 to create such a data set. And then we find enablers who are willing to and qualified to do this task, and we're paying them a certain amount, and we just take a cut of the platform fee, which is usually 10 to 50% of the whole deal, right? But for when we open up this to any of the individual and business users or the entire retail market, the new weapon we have is to add the sort of token rewards. And before that, we actually have what we call Sahara points as sort of our native reward points in the Sahara ecosystem, that we can use this to incentivize people to do consistently good jobs of data collection and labeling, and then use that to really like help bootstrap the diversity and quantity of the what we call community contributed knowledge vaults, which is basically databases of data sets with business value. We want to have hundreds of such interesting domain-specific knowledge vaults to emerge on Sahara network with the token incentivizations.
And I think this relates a lot to some of the explanations you've been giving already. You were just talking about knowledge vaults, and on your website, there's this concept of knowledge agents. Can you explain, as layman as possible, what is a knowledge agent and how does that work and play into Sahara AI for individuals and for businesses?
Yeah, I think a better term, or more like layman's term for knowledge agent, is your personal replica or your digital twin, right? If you think about the last generation of AI, in many ways it's chatbot, right? The chatbot is basically like customer service chatbot. Basically, you talk to them either on form or on the website, and then they just respond to you in text. You ask information, they give you back the information in the text form. This is what we just call chatbot. But the current generation of so-called personal replica and digital twin is the AI that are able to take action for you. For example, if you are booking a flight ticket, it requires multiple steps of action. You need to search the website, you need to compare the price quotes from different websites, and then you need to actually book. And when you book the ticket, you need to select the seat, and then you need to maybe add on an insurance, and then you need to input your credit card information and so on, right? It's going to be dozens of steps before you can actually successfully book a ticket. And these generations of AI is able to start taking actions towards different internet websites or this so-called virtual environment, right? If you place this into a real-world robot, it basically can maybe make a pancake for you by taking multiple actions with navigating within your kitchen, open your fridge, find the ingredients, and do all of the cookware manipulation. So this is a huge step, and we see very strong promise that this become like reality. So Sahara AI knowledge agent is basically taking this technical stack and trying to create an AI that are able to perform tasks for you in a 24/7 manner, right? Without even your supervision, right? Think about if you are a sort of creator that are doing fan engagement. Let's say you are sort of influencer on Instagram. You have maybe 1 million fans, and a clear sort of a way to monetize yourself is to talking to the fans, engage with them, and then you might get tips, you might get gifts, right? And you only have very limited capability of doing that for maybe 12 hours of your time a day. And you might be able to recruit a team of like 50 people sitting in front of a laptop to do that for you, to scale up the process. And this is already happening for the past few years in the industry, right? Now, think about if you can have an agent or like your personal replica that are essentially can scale in an infinity way that can talk to tens of thousands of your fans at the same time and doesn't require sleeping at all. And it can even learn to self-improve its strategy, talking to the fans to maximize the rewards, the tips and gifts, right? This is not a gym anymore. It's already happening. So this is a kind of example of what a knowledge agent is capable of doing, but with the caveat that you probably don't want to build up such an AI using, say, OpenAI's sort of a service, because that requires you to upload all of your media access and your chat histories to OpenAI cloud, and you have no idea how they're gonna make use of your proprietary informations, right? To sort of build a GPT-5 and GPT-6 that might probably gonna replace you, right? In the domain of financial investments and uploading things to do with your personal health records, sounds even more scary, right? So the dilemma here is that you apparently can see the opportunity of leveraging this AI technology, build them on top of your proprietary data to help scale up your business process and just make more money. But you also are scared of giving out your proprietary information to this like centralized AI provider, because maybe in a year, they're going to start automating part of your business and replace you, right? So Sahara AI is basically providing a sort of a best of both worlds. We are able to let the user of this agent to store their part of the model and their proprietary data exclusively on their edge devices. So edge devices such as your iPhone, your smartphone, and your laptop, without even need to transfer out those data to any of the cloud server. But you will be able to enjoy the AI capability like a GPT-4 level sort of a performance to build your agent that can automate your business process. So that's basically what we call best of both worlds, right? Have your privacy protection, have your prominence, but enjoy the AI capability within the tech framework of Sahara.
It's fun and scary to think about the future of where this is going. And I mean, it's as you paint that picture, it makes sense as I'm thinking through my, just through examples. So you talk about the example of booking a flight, or your AI agent, your knowledge agent booking a flight for you. And it makes sense, right? Especially if they're able to tap into knowledge sources such as your calendar, they know your availability, they know your preference, like all that kind of thing. Then it can be more customized than, for us that are using aggregator sites right now to make it a little bit more simple. This will be even more in depth. So I think that makes a lot of sense. My question is, will authenticity matter in your opinion? Because that sounds great in terms of the influencer example, having an AI or a knowledge agent being able to respond on your behalf, being able to do so in a way that maximizes benefit to you, whether that's financially or growing your engagement. However, I would feel if I am a fan and I thought it was the true creator or influencer responding to me, and then I learned later on, oh no, that was just their virtual assistant who is doing so, it may not feel as special to me. And maybe our mindset will change over time, but just curious of getting your thoughts on that. Like, how do we maintain that authenticity? Or can we also use blockchain to kind of like showcase when this is truly the creator or the human who's interacting versus the virtual agent?
Yeah, that's I love the question. So just to quickly add on, the fact that these influencers or KOLs or any of this creator category business, they are already scaling up the business using so-called human chatters, right? Mm-hmm. Like this influencer can easily have a team of like 10, 50 chatters that doing the chat for them. And the authenticity is already a question mark on these cases. And we see pretty promising business traits for doing that. And I think on that perspective, just down the road, using AI agents to just like further scale up things and then reduce the human operation costs, and even improving the quality of the conversation strategies, improving the sales. I think it's a very promising direction by itself. And then what you mentioned about authenticity, I think that's a great problem, right? Would there be a basically inflection point that people just don't want to talk to an AI? They want to see something real, right? I think that's going to happen on a various of domains where people really want to just first confirm if this is a real human or an AI, regardless of how good the AI is, right? I can't come up with really concrete, convincing example off my head, but I'm sure that's going to happen. Like people, the first thing people want to do is to first confirm if this is an AI or human, and then they will take the action next. And I think this is entirely possible and can be solved by blockchain. Actually, this is what we call maybe proof of personhood, right? If you think about the Worldcoin project, it's basically associating people's sort of biometric with the decentralized ID. So then what it acts as is no longer just a sort of a sequence of symbols. It's actually a person in real life, right? And if you think along this line, it is totally possible that when we look at a sort of a AI model, when we look at a sort of an application, we can use this technology to first confirm if the operator of this application is a real person or is just an AI model through the similar technology. And I think that that's something is really up and coming, and I'm a totally fan of that.
So when we talk about digital twins or these knowledge agents and what Sahara AI is providing in terms of your provenance and sort of owning that piece of your own AI, if you will, when is that possible through Sahara AI, and how can someone start participating and getting involved?
Yeah, so the overall Sahara vision is probably 5 to 10 years plan. Honestly speaking, it's pretty ambitious, apparently. By even just building up the technical framework and then with the go-to-market and so on, it's gonna be easily like 3 to 5 years of sort of a project. Apparently, our current sort of a roadmap for 2024 is really to focusing on the domain knowledge vault, which is the data portion of the Sahara network, right? What we're hoping to do by the end of the year are two things. Number one is we want to open up the data marketplace to all of the users, individual retail users, all business users, to incentivize them to come to build data sets that have a high business value. So a sort of a measure of the success in this very first stage is to see whether we can come up with maybe tens of hundreds of very interesting domains and the corresponding what we call domain knowledge vaults, which is a crowdsourced data sets that, for example, about Web3 financial investment, that's one. About uncensored social chat domain, that's number two, right? And about maybe Web3 gaming, that's another one, right? We want to see a wide diversity of such knowledge bases with come up from our data marketplace. And then the next phase is to prove the business value of these data sets, right? And this is a super challenging step because anyone can come to say, I'm going to just like throw in 100 data points into this knowledge vault, but there could be just like garbage in and then garbage out, right? So the proof of the business value going to come from a couple of channels. Number one is maybe the enterprise clients want to purchase access to these data set APIs, right? For example, if Amazon Shopping love to just like get access to our shopping vertical knowledge vault, that's a great proof of utility, right? And then also another channel will be if someone else successfully show I can build a better model about Web3 gaming than ChatGPT, than GPT-4 by using this Web3 gaming knowledge vault as the data sources. That's another proof of a great sort of a point, right? Because that basically shows GPT-4 just scrape the internet data about everything, doesn't necessarily build a better model than a more like a domain-specific Web3 gaming language model, right? So this is what we want to achieve by the end of the year, and that will basically set our milestone for on the application side. But at the same time, the Sahara blockchain, which is the fundamental support for having this on-chain attribution, is gonna be also launched in sort of a timeline. In Q3, we want to show that our Sahara purpose-built blockchain will be able to integrate with our data marketplace on the application layer, as basically an integration between the transaction layer and the application layer. That will happen in Q3, and then down the road in Q4, we're gonna launch the mainnet to really open up this to everyone.
Sean, my understanding is that one of your takes is that AI's UI of the future will be speech. Is that correct? What do you mean by that?
I would say more than speech, right? I think it's like if you look at the way humans talk to each other, there's different sensing channel. There's the verbal part, there's the facial gesture part, which is part of the vision, right? And then there's also maybe the smell, the hearing, all the things should be part of the AI interfaces. And the reason why we're seeing success on the language part first is because the internet data is just much easier to be collected and dumped into one place that all of the AI providers can just script them. But if you think about the smile and the audios and even like the videos, it's much less complete compared to the language data. So I think the challenge next down the road to building a better AI is to think about where does data come from. But again, I will just relate it back to the Sahara's vision, right? If I'm talking to my phone every day, but I'm not necessarily updating my audio data to internet at all, and I'm scared to do that because that's a super private thing. But if I have proper provenance support and attribution support, I might be able to do that in even a part of it, right? So I think really the Sahara infrastructure is to help people, is to educate people to start thinking about the value of their proprietary data and maybe start thinking about storing some of the data and actually contribute some of these data to some proprietary knowledge vaults and then monetize them down the road. And then we will have more powerful AI as well.
Love it. We're getting near the end of this conversation, but I'd love to ask someone who's in the field working with AI, building on AI and blockchain technology, more general question, which is, where do we go from here in terms of AI and how humans are going to interact with AI? Maybe, to simplify the question a little bit over the next 1, 5, and 10 years. Obviously, just for more context, things are moving at a exponential rate, right? They're accelerating like never before, especially in the AI realm, because in many respects, it's sort of self-learning and therefore getting that much better, that much faster. So where do we go from here? What's AI like in 1, 5, and 10 years?
Yeah. My way of answering this question is to first help you guys understand. I see there's two main ways AI gonna be developed in the next 5 to 10 years. The first channel is what we have seen in the past decades is to use AI to increase our productivity, which is saving time, and also to help us kill time, which is more about the entertaining part of it, right? If you've seen character AI and all these like social chatbot, they are basically helping us to kill time and sort of entertain us. And then at the same time, you also see ChatGPT and many of other vertical domain business application using AI. They are trying to reduce human effort. They are trying to make the original business process more streamlined to save money. So these are these two things gonna continue to be pushed forward with better and better GPT capabilities or language model or foundational model capabilities. I think that's gonna be we have a lot of fruitful results in the coming 1 year and also to the 5 years. And I think this is not a very surprising route that we have seen in the past decades. But the thing I'm really intriguing about as a new route of AI is to think about AI as a different working sort of mechanisms as human brain, right? Because human have its own cognition process, and people have been studying for years. But apparently, these AI models, like this what we call transformer foundational model, they are a totally different thinking machine than human brain. But it turns out they are very powerful in memorizing things. They can memorize the entire internet and compress them down to 10 gigabyte and answer your questions in such a fast manner. That's not, none of the human can do that. So this is a very different type of thinking machine. But what that implies is that we probably should also embrace this different thinking pattern and behavior, and maybe just let it go wild, right? Just push the frontier of making this model larger. And there's one term in the AI community these days, it's called emergent behavior. It's basically saying that this large model, when their size go up to certain level, suddenly with some new capabilities going to happen, right? They start being able to solve math at certain size, and then the next level, they might be able to compose some new protein structure, some new chemical materials. And this is already happening within DeepMind, Google DeepMind, and all the other like startup companies that are using AI models to guide scientific discovery of creating new materials, creating new compounds, and so on. And I think this route is also highly unpredictable, but very, very exciting because you don't know, maybe one day it will just give us a so rewarding results that can change our society and life. And I'm taking a pretty optimistic view about it rather than being very conservative. So I think this is something really new to human population. Doesn't show up in the past 10 years or 20 years. And I'm a big fan of that.
Super interesting, Sean. As Ulf mentioned, we're getting close to the end of the interview. We're going to ask you the 3 questions we ask every single guest. So we'll get to that in 1 second. But just before that, I'm curious if we dial this down into blockchain, and kind of one of the main themes that people have been talking about over the next year or so is this, what we're talking about, AI and blockchain and the two merging together. And there's a lot of different protocols that are out there, various problems that they're trying to solve. But what do you see, kind of same timeline perhaps, but some of these other projects, where do you think we're going in the blockchain space specifically? Like, what are some of the other problems that are being solved?
Yeah. If we're talking about specifically about synergy between AI and crypto, and I think there's a lot of a project out there, they are kind of like just adding an economic layer on top of the established AI business model, right? For example, if I pay tokens as incentivizations to the people who are doing work, people might be better motivated and incentivized, right? There's some projects along this line, they're trying to motivate people to do data labeling, motivate people to contribute data, and motivate people to use AI and give feedback. And I think those are, good projects, but doesn't really explore the full power of blockchains to enable AI and solve the limitation of AI. So really, I think for AI, like I said, the fundamental limitation in the current Web2 paradigm is the lack of ownership of the AI access being produced and lack of provenance and attribution mechanism. And I think blockchain is a very natural way to close the gap. And then if you look at down the road, what are the other opportunities for applying blockchain to AI? I think one part is to what we call doing trustless model inference and training. That means like when the AI model is speaking out something, it's going through some computation process internally. But how do you know this computation is faithful, is doing non-malicious behavior, right? Because GPU operator can make a little bit change to say, change the prediction of a presidential election results from A to B. And that got posted at very large scale to social media platform. It actually created a lot of like society impact in an active way or in a sort of a nuanced way, right? How do you trust AI models output? How do you trust the model itself? a lot of things about making them trustless using blockchain. I think that's a very exciting direction. It's not immediately achievable. For example, people talk about ZK, talk about optimism approach to do that, and I think these are all great topics to explore.
Love it. Sean, as I mentioned, we like to end every episode of Show Me the Crypto with the same 3 questions we ask every single guest. It's a little segment we call You Had Me at Crypto. Ulf is going to ask you those questions.
Sean, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. The first question, who's your favorite person to follow in the crypto space?
I would say definitely Vitalik. The reason for that is I just feel like really on the same page with a tech person that talks about not just the economic side of the crypto, but also the fundamental tech about what blockchains is able to enable. And in my case, it's thinking about how this can power AI and solve the fundamental limitation of the Web2 AI paradigm.
Nice. I think he's our most answered person. Every 5 to 10 guests, we get a Vitalik answer.
Yeah, I'd say like 5 to 10% of episodes are Vitalik. So good, you're right on par there.
Yeah. All right. The second question: what will the price of Bitcoin be 10 years from today?
Oh wow, that's a hard one. I'm a believer in Bitcoin because I think it's sort of like a very well anchored sort of access to me. So I would say it's gonna be 10x of the price today in 10 years.
Nice.
So 580,000 because we just dipped.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll check back in 10 years.
Okay. The third and final question: what is the most underrated project in the crypto space?
Oh wow, that's a hard one. I'm gonna just make it tricky, right? I'm gonna just say Sahara AI because we are so early.
Other than Sahara, forgot to mention that. You got to say something else. But it can also be a sector. So one thing we'll allow is if you say like just kind of the merge of blockchain and AI. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to say ZK. I want to say homomorphic encryption. Because these technologies just like have a huge potential, but with the caveat that the valuations on these projects are also relatively high in the past 5 years. So I wouldn't say they are most underrated, but I guess my translation of the question is where I see a huge sort of a growth and sort of potential and rewards in the crypto space. I would pick homomorphic encryption as sort of my pick.
Cool.
Great answers, Sean. This has been a really fascinating conversation. It's one of those things, anytime we get talking about AI, usually at the end of the conversation, my head hurts because it's one of those things that's so crazy to think about the future, but I think you did such a great job of breaking down these complex ideas into a really easy to understand way. So thank you so much for joining Ulf and I on this episode of Show Me the Crypto.
Yeah, enjoy the conversation. Appreciate having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to Show Me the Crypto. Please make sure to subscribe as well as rate and review this podcast.